This is Hell Let Loose. For those that don't know what Hell Let Loose is, it's a multiplayer World War II hardcore squad-based tactical game. That's gamerspeak for you need to work as a team, and you die if you're shot once, twice if you're lucky. It means that you're also going to have moments of sheer pants-shitting terror and unbelievable luck in equal parts.
Not on the building.
I'll say this in the opening. If you think you're just going to get a quick match in before bed with this game, you're wrong. The standard match, if played to the limit, can last for an hour and a half. Safe to say you might have at least one highlight in that time span. However, a lot of that time is actually going to be spent doing this. Yeah, your first few games of Hell Let Loose are going to involve a lot of dying. In fact, for a general idea, I've played the game for around 64 hours so far, and I still think it's a bold claim for me to say that I've got a positive KDR, because for every match where I've gone on a one-man killing spree, there's been about 12 where my kills didn't hit double digits, and my death counter almost hit the triples. That's Hell Let Loose in a sentence for you. You'll die a lot, and I do mean a lot. But every once in a while, you'll go on a rampage that will instill a cold, unmoving fear in the enemy players. Then you'll get cleaned up by a bombing run and have PTSD flashbacks for a few days every time you hear a plane fly overhead. Anyway, watch some highlights while I think about more stuff to say in regards to the game itself.
What are you doing? Go the other way, you dickhead. Nice.
Hold. Turret's moving, Cal.
Alright. Just keep hitting him.
Reloading. I'm mashing the fuck out of this button.
Alright. Good job. Okay, just keep driving, turn left. Yeah, go. Yeah, hook left. Oh! Thank God I told you to fucking turn when you did.
Cal.
Fuck up.
If there's one thing I can unanimously praise Hell Let Loose for, as you might have gleaned from the brief montage, it's that the game has a lot of effort put into the soundscape. There's nothing quite like the zipping of bullets past the player's head to make them instinctively hit the crouch button, and there's nothing like the crisp ping from an impressive long-distance headshot. You know how games do that thing where they fill in the silence with background gunshots and explosions and stuff like that? I'm pretty well convinced that none of what you hear in Hell Let Loose is artificial, which is to say that for every bit of background flak and fury you hear, it's player generated. Somewhere on the map you're currently playing, and not coming from some sort of out of bounds gun battery that you can't even exploit for good sightlines. And believe me, there's still a bit of exploiting to be done in Hell Let Loose. Certain maps make it very, very easy to prone in a pile of rubble and make it damn near impossible to see someone. Also, the player model is always on a flat plane in the third person. So if you've lined up said prone wrong, you look like you're just staring up into the air to any enemy who comes past you. Yeah, this game ain't perfect, but what it gets right, it really gets right. For background on what I'm about to say, one of the most common things said to me at work, specifically when someone is buying a gaming headset, is, I want to hear the enemy footsteps. You won't need a $500 pair of headphones to hear people in this game, because it has an entirely separate audio slider for raw audio quality. How good is it though?
Come back to me if you can.
If we get some tanks that infantry.
About that good. Once again, just to hammer it home, the sound in this game is absolutely its strongest element for me. It has such good feedback when you've actually found and hit a target, whether in the head or the body. All of the weapons, regardless of faction, have a distinct sound, which I can't stress how useful that can be when you're fighting blind on a strong point. Being able to distinguish between a friendly and an enemy purely based off the sonic report of whichever rifle, SMG, or LMG they might be using. However, that does come with experience, of course. I ain't bluffing. The people who have played this game for those high ranks probably know their shit regardless of which map you're on. The longer you play Hell Let Loose, like any other half-decent multiplayer game, the more knowledge you'll acquire, whether that's map knowledge and knowing where a good spot for a spawn might be, or a good angle of attack to ambush a tank based off where it's been pinged on the map. It could be weapon knowledge, like I mentioned just now in the last section, but also because some maps definitely favor different weapons and loadouts compared to others. If you're using an SMG on Hurtgen or Hill 400, you might as well throw the match with how many rifles are going to hone in on your position with accurate fire after your first burst. However, if it's basically any of the Normandy maps, excusing Purple Heart Lane, you're probably going to wreck some people's shit with that SMG. More so if you're a half-decent MG gunner with a good sightline. Some maps are even better suited to tank gameplay rather than infantry like Foy or Kursk, where one good tank crew can very much swing the match in and out of your favor, but only if I don't get them with a satchel charge first. Naturally, when rank would indicate experience, I hope you've got someone who's been playing for a while as your squad leader or commander, because I've played matches with a greenie as the commander, and they did not end in a comfortable victory, let me tell you. If your superiors in rank have a suggestion, especially in your first few matches, I'd say listen to them, and don't be afraid to ask your squad lead what they need from you. You know, standard squad stuff, honestly, teamwork and all that bullshit. On that note, communication. Some people need to practice it in the real world. Fuck knows, I'm not that great at it on the fly. But in Hell Let Loose, there is never too much communication. Of course, a mic isn't strictly necessary for Hell Let Loose. That's a fucking lie. If you aren't prepared to, at minimum, use your mic to acknowledge someone or alert them to an enemy, reconsider playing this game. I mean, you could play it anyway and use the text chat, but no one's going to be looking up here when the action is happening here. Letting your squaddies know where an enemy is with a ping is useful, but aside from spamming it, you can't actually give detail as to what you're pinging without a mic. Telling your commander it's a tank you're staring at and not a lone enemy might be useful for the AT guy in your squad to know, more so in the case of the object in question being an enemy spawn point. Communication and knowledge are the backbone of Hell Let Loose. You can be a Rambo and amass 100 plus kills with an MG, but it won't help you win the match if you soloed those kills by sitting in the corner of an already taken point, when the rest of your team is trying to hold the opponent off the last stronghold. Depending what class you play as, you can viably help your team win a match without firing a shot. Oh yeah, did I mention there was classes? There's classes, each with their own unique role to fulfill. The anti-tank deals with tanks, the MG suppresses hordes of enemies, assault assaults the defensive ground, riflemen do the rifling, squad leaders lead sometimes, supports support the officer, engineers generally don't do much, and the medics get the MVP for every match ever. That's the short list for all of the classes anyway. There's a bit more detail to each of them, especially in the weapons you can use for each faction, but I guess you'll have to play the game yourself and find out, In a sentence, Hell Let Loose is a pretty good World War II tactical multiplayer shooter. At first, it'll be more than a little frustrating to start. With time, you'll realize that the repeated death cycle is just part of the game, and you'll learn which angles to attack from based off which point you're trying to push or defend. I'd say Hell Let Loose is worth the money. If you're patient and have a mic handy to actually communicate with your squaddies, you're going to have a hell of a time and collect more than a few highlights from the moments you got PTSD from your teammate being blown apart by a tank or a rolling bombing run slowly creeping towards you. Hell Let Loose ain't made by a AAA team, but it's clear they've got a passion for the craft. If your interest is sparked from this video, give the link in the description a peek and give it a crack. I have been the infamous Sir Hellfire, you have been my lovely brethren. In the next one, I'll have to stop being a wise guy before I wear a pair of concrete slippers and go for a swim with the fishies. I'll see you then. Ciao.